Kind of November, October, November. Great. This was yeah. He had one of the newer ones that the ISO is 100,000 or so. Yeah. 100,000 ISO. So I'm in there taking like ISO. Yeah, so I don't really do that. And he's like, oh, well, he's like, normal picture. It sounded like a normal picture. And it's like, well, that's what I was thinking, yeah. It was good. Okay. You did not do it, or you did? I'm sure it'd be okay. Okay. All right, good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
How are we doing this evening? Is that a little bit loud, I think? No? It's good? Okay.
Perfect.
Excellent. I'm not used to being mic'd, so this is something new for me. I see a lot of new faces in the crowd tonight. So welcome to anyone who's not been to an AELC meeting before. My name is Dave Farina, and I'm club president. And I'm hoping that everybody is out here for astronomy tonight. All right? Okay. Just by show of hands, who is feeling like they really are interested in astronomy but are somewhat new to it? Just so I can get an idea of kind of the crowd tonight, since there are a lot of new faces. Okay. So tonight's discussion is going to be about Mars. And our journey to Mars through NASA. And I'm also going to try to include some other things with respect to some of the commercial spaceflight that is becoming increasingly important. You may have seen a few days back a company called SpaceX and another company called Blue Origin. Both of them landed a rocket vertically after launch. So it launched, and I'll show you a video later on here. It launched vertically, and then it landed itself successfully. This is pretty new, and as a result, we're getting more interest in the general public for manned spaceflight again, which you probably know the space shuttle has been deactivated a number of years back, and all of our missions have been more recently done by the Russians. So this is pretty neat, you know, spaceflight coming back, manned spaceflight coming back to the United States and being done by corporations, which is brand new to us. So we like to try to keep you all informed, and I'm just going to show you, if you are interested in following along, we have our website here, aelc.us. Just kind of a little navigating the website thing quick. Here we are tonight. There is a calendar. If you click on it, it gives you more information. So if you are new to this and maybe you saw us in another way, maybe the newspaper or through the library, there is our website as well to get information farther into the future. I'm also a teacher at Manheim Township Public High School. So if you guys are interested in Mars and are free this Saturday coming up, the 9th, my high school astronomy students are going to be hosting a similar event to tonight, hence my doing this evening. And I'm going to do my best not to step on our own toes. So if you see me tiptoeing at any time, that's because I'm trying not to let the cat out of the bag here. Our show times are from noon until 4 p.m. and it's every hour on the hour. AELC members get a little bit of a discount for $5 per person. Student age children get it for $5 as well. Adults is $7. And it's a planetarium show, and it's actually going to be operated by one of my students, a senior, Ross Campanella. Every month we have a meeting, and we're, for most of 2016, going to be operating on a Wednesday, the first Wednesday schedule. There are some exceptions to that. I'm going to be taking some classes, so if you see it's on a Tuesday, that's because I'll be presenting something. Otherwise, they're on Wednesdays, and like I said, the first Wednesday of the month for the most part. So coming up here, you will see that we also in the future, in fact, it's even earlier than that. Let's see, starting in March. Yes, that sounds correct. In March, we'll start our public star watches again. We hibernate during the winter, and we try not to go out in the cold. But we are operating these star watches again this coming year, and we hope to see a lot of people out again. We do some at the Lancaster Environmental Center, and that's south of the city, and there's a little map here if you want to find out where that is, if you're not familiar with it. And we also do other ones in Manheim Township, Stone Park. So if you want to have more of a hands-on experience of coming out to see the night sky through a telescope, don't have one yourself, you can come out and we'll show you the sky through our telescopes. If you do have a telescope and want to know more about it, you're certainly welcome to join us. AELC members also, we do training, if you're a member. So if you are just getting into it and maybe you got a telescope this holiday season, you want to learn how to use it, join. Membership is $20 a year, and families it's $30. So the whole family can join, and you're all, at that point you're able to come out and we'll train you on how to use telescopes at whatever level you're at. I want to let you know I also have a little video archive here and a shared file. So once again, if you wanted to follow along tonight, if you go to the meetings shared file, you'll open and you'll click on meeting lecture files, and this will open up. So tonight I'm going to be operating out of this folder, which is our NASA Journey to Mars with today's date. And I'm going to be following along. It's kind of a little bit different way of doing a presentation. I did a lot of PowerPoints for a while, and this way you have access, and I'm just kind of pointing you towards websites so that if you want to learn more about something, you've got the link. Because I'm never going to be, I don't want to sit here and talk about the website in its entirety. That's kind of boring. But I'm going to just kind of highlight some things and show you what I'm doing as far as research on these topics, and also some videos. And finally, we are blessed to have Rob Webb as one of our club members. Rob has been very active over the past year plus, 2 years plus. I'm sorry, Rob.
I didn't know either.
Wow.
Wow.
These are all the monthly observing with Webbs that Rob has done, and once again, thank you again. So we're going to be watching this.
Hi, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Observing with Webb for January of 2016. January is looking pretty interesting, more interesting than a normal January, because we've got 4 planets we can see in the morning. Comet Catalina is still visible if you have binoculars. The quadranted meteor shower is going to happen, even though it's not the best. And we have an occultation of bright Aldebaran. So it's going to be cold, well, maybe, not over Christmas time, but we have plenty of night to work with, so that gives us a lot to work with. So let's first talk about the planets, if we take a look at our screen here. First of all, as far as planets you can see around sunset, this month is, well, none. Nothing's really visible around sunset. There's nothing really in the night sky around sunset, so forget about it. But as far as planets you can see throughout the night, here's what's going to happen. If we look at, let's look toward the east, and let's watch, oh, look at that, there's Orion, that's looking pretty nice, Gemini's above it, Canis Minor, and oh, there's Canis Major with the brightest star, Sirius. In fact, I was almost fooled the other night. I thought that was a planet, but then I realized, as I looked up, I saw Orion's belt up there, and that meant that this was Sirius, the bright star in the sky, and not a planet. But what happens is, around January 1st, Jupiter is going to rise up in the east right around 11 p.m. Okay, and in fact, let me go to like mid-month on an average. Mid-month it'll be a little bit earlier, but it's going to rise around 10:30, 11 p.m. What's going to happen is, throughout the night, it's going to rise up. Zoom out a little bit. It's going to rise up, and it's going to move throughout the sky. It's going to move toward the south, southwest. And by the morning, it'll be in the southwest. But what happens also is around 2 a.m., Mars pops up and rises as well over there in the, I believe, the southeast. Oh, my directions aren't on. But there's Mars down there, below Spica, which is the brightest star in Virgo. And that rises up. And yeah, they just sort of follow throughout the night. And then you've got Saturn and Venus popping up after about 5:30 a.m. Okay? Well, I guess after 4 a.m. typically, but definitely after 4 a.m. you'll be able to see Venus and Saturn. So let me just talk about Venus and Saturn real quick, because they do a little dance throughout the month. Let me go back to January 1st. January 1st, in the southeast, if you wake up around sunrise, around 6 a.m. and you take a look out, Venus is going to be very, very bright and above Saturn. And I'm going to fast forward throughout the days. What happens is Venus and Saturn get closer and closer together until January 9th, when they're actually only half a degree apart. And then they switch places. So for the rest of the month, Venus is getting lower and lower in the sky, and Saturn is getting higher and higher. And then they start moving apart for the rest of the month. As you see, by January 31st, Venus and Saturn are much further apart. Venus is pretty low. It'll be harder to see by the end of the month. And I guess technically at the end of the month you might be able to see Mercury, but it's pretty close. So you need really clear skies and a very clear view of the horizon. So it's not really worth looking for Mercury. Okay? But if we take a look at around mid-month, we take a look at the morning sky, you're going to see Venus and Saturn off in the southeast. Mars will be more toward the south, and Jupiter will be high in the southwest. Yeah, so that's what we got for planets for the month. So let me go ahead and talk about what events we have going on for the month as well. First of all, we've got Comet Catalina. Now, like I've said before, Comet Catalina is not going to be a Halley's Comet type thing where you can see it with your naked eye, but Comet hunter David Levy has said before that comets are basically cats. They both have tails, and they both do exactly what they want. So we never really know. Maybe it'll get super bright, maybe it'll just fade out. We just have no idea. Okay? But I'll just say, I'll put some links on my Podbean site, that a couple links to 2 good sites that explain how to view it, because it's a little complicated. But if we take a look here around, let's see, January 15th is when I have this going. Around January 15th, Comet Catalina is actually, oops, all the way, there we go, hold on, don't get too sick. Around January 15th, Comet Catalina is up here by the end of the handle of the Big Dipper. And it actually takes this sort of path. Okay, let's start on the 1st. Comet Catalina on the 1st is actually up here very close to Arcturus, the brightest star in Bootes. Okay? And then what happens is throughout the month, it's actually going to get higher and higher in the sky, and then actually move toward the Big Dipper. And after the 15th, it's going to get dimmer and dimmer as it gets closer to Polaris, which is actually kind of neat to see a star in Polaris, or near Polaris. But anyway, that's the path it's taken. Basically, it started down here toward the ecliptic, and now it's going up here. Okay? So that's Comet Catalina. I'll stop talking about it. You can find more information on the internet. So let me go back to January 2nd. Because January 2nd, we have a last quarter moon. Let me go to sunrise on January 2nd. As you can see, you've got a nice third quarter moon that's visible from midnight and into the morning. And then on the 2nd and the 3rd, you've got a nice close encounter between the moon, Jupiter, and Mars. And I say the moon, Jupiter, and Mars are kind of far apart, but the moon is directly in between Mars and Jupiter. So if you're trying to find Mars and Jupiter, morning of the 2nd is a good time to look, because you'll find the moon really easily. Mars will be about 10 degrees to the left, Jupiter about 10 degrees to the right. Easy to find. Jupiter will be much brighter, and Mars will be a little more red. Then, on the 3rd, the moon is much closer to Mars. Much, much closer here. As you see, Jupiter's back over here, and Mars is over here. And yeah, it's a good time to find Mars. Just find the moon, find red Mars right nearby. Now what's going on the night of the 3rd into the morning of the 4th is the quadrantid meteor shower. Now you do have to get up super early. They're saying 3:30 in the morning to really get a good view of these. And you do have the moon interfering a little bit, but not too much. But go ahead and take a look. It's not something that you want to totally plan for, and if it's too cold, I wouldn't go out. But yeah, I think it's worth at least taking a look. Okay? And if you want more information, I'll put some links on the Podbean site, and you can find some good stuff there. Or just search quadrantid meteor shower. Excuse me. All right, so anyway, what happens to the moon over the next little bit? Well, on the 4th, it'll be lower, thinner, and dimmer. Again on the 5th. And then on the 6th, it actually starts joining with Venus and Saturn. So if you look toward the southeast in the morning, let's see, let me rewind time a little bit. After 5:30, so after 5:30 in the morning on the 6th, you can see a very thin, very nice crescent moon just barely up here. And Venus is going to be super bright and down and to the left, and Saturn is going to be down and to the left as well. And on the next morning, the moon is actually going to have moved over to the left of both of these. Okay? So that's going to be really nice to see on the morning of the 7th, after 5:30 in the morning, Venus, Saturn, and the moon all together. Then, of course, the moon gets even thinner and even darker until the 9th, when we have a new moon, and that's when we switch around if we want to find the moon. We have to look toward sunset in the west. And let's see, let's go a little bit past sunset, about 6 p.m. And, oh, I forgot, on the 9th, on the morning of the 9th, this is when you see the conjunction of Venus and Saturn. These two are only half a degree apart. In fact, if you have a good telescope with a wide field of view, you'll be able to actually see the rings of Saturn and Venus all in one shot. Binoculars might help you get this, but it's possible. It's really neat. This doesn't happen very often at all, so go out and find that conjunction. Anyway, let me zoom out and let's go back again. That's sunrise. Let's switch to sunset in the west, January 9th. And what's going to happen is, if you're looking at night after sunset, maybe on the 11th you'll see a very thin crescent moon. On the 12th it'll be a little thicker, a little higher. 13th, a little thicker, a little higher. 14th, a little thicker, a little higher. 15th, and then on the 16th you've got your first quarter moon. High in the sky, you can see it from until about midnight, because that's when it sets. And then the really cool thing, it depends on how you look at it. I think it's pretty cool. But each day gets thicker and thicker and brighter until, oh, look at that. On the night of the 19th, the moon is getting suspiciously close to Aldebaran. And I'm actually going to center on Aldebaran to show you what happens. On the 19th, I'm going to fast forward time a little bit, the moon is actually going to, in its travels throughout the night, it's going to occult Aldebaran. Occult means to pass in front of. And so what's going to happen, you notice the left-hand side of the moon is dark, but the right hand is lit up. At about there, right about 9:30 p.m. for those of us in Lancaster County. There are some links on the Podbean site to different sites that will give you more predictions. But right around 9:30, Aldebaran will just disappear behind the moon. And then it's not going to appear until about an hour and a half or so later on the other side of the moon, on the bright side. It just doesn't happen very often. That's why this is pretty cool. I know, it's not amazing. It's not a supernova, it's not a meteor shower, but it's still pretty darn cool. So let me zoom back out. Okay, we have a nice waxing gibbous moon, and night after night, it's going to get thicker and thicker until the full moon, which is on January 23rd. January 23rd, you have a full moon, visible from sunset all the way to sunrise. And, the second to last thing would be a couple days later. It's now a waning gibbous moon, and now we see the moon and Jupiter off in the east in the morning. They're going to be very close together. In fact, way early in the morning when they rise together, about 9:30 p.m. Actually, that's not morning, that's the evening of the 27th. They're going to be pretty darn close, about 2 or 3 degrees apart. And then as the night goes on and into the morning, they actually move further and further apart and move toward the south. Then over the next couple of nights, the moon gets, again, thinner and thinner. And on the 31st, we have a last quarter moon, or a third quarter moon, and that's visible from about midnight all the way into the morning. Maybe even on your morning drive, you'll be able to see it. Yeah, those are the events that are happening. And I want to go really quickly with the winter constellation tips. I know I've talked about this before, but let's go to, let's say, mid-January, let's say the 15th, and let's go to, I don't know, how about 9 p.m.? So that's a good time for people to go out. 9 p.m., what you'll be able to see around 9 p.m., this is the key, the winter constellations, okay? You've got Orion, which is the nice big bow tie in the sky. Really, it's the hunter, and he's got this belt of stars right in the middle, 1, 2, 3. And those 3 belt stars are going to help you find some things. Side note, really cool. There are 3 kind of stars down here, but one of those is the Orion Nebula, which you can actually see is a little fuzzy with binoculars or a telescope. But if you zoom out from that, you've got Orion's belt, Okay, the knot of the bow tie. If we follow those 3 stars to the left, you get the brightest star in the sky, which is known as Sirius, which is the brightest star in Canis Major as well. Now, if you go back to Orion's belt and follow him instead to the right, you'll find Aldebaran, which is the brightest star in Taurus. Follow those a little bit further to the right, and you'll find the Pleiades over here. And then if you look above Orion, you'll be able to see Gemini, the twins, Canis Minor, which are these 2 stars over there that make up a little dog. Don't know how that happened. And then probably because there's a big dog right nearby. And then you can also see Auriga, the charioteer, up here. Okay? So anyway, that is really it for the month of January. And I'd like to wish you all very clear, dark skies for the month and the new year.
All right. So, lots of information there from Rob. If you are interested in, rewatching that video, once again, it is up on our website under the Observing with Webb tab. While he's here, does anyone have any questions for Rob?
Just a quick pointer. Actually, I learned a trick for how to find the 2 Gemini twins, and take a line from the bottom right of Orion, can't miss that, up through the top left, which is Betelgeuse, right? And you're there.
Good.
Twin stars, the way down.
So one of the tricks that you're describing, that if you're really new to astronomy, is to use something called star hopping. And I use it, Rob uses it, Lane's got many years of astronomy under his belt. We all use it to this day. And once you learn it, the goal is to not, of course, forget it. So a lot of times in ancient human history, we told stories. And those mythological stories have helped us to pass down that information over the years. So Rob was talking, for instance, about Orion is the hunter. And then he has his faithful dog, Canis Major, right behind. Lupus the rabbit is right next to that. The dog chases the rabbit across the river Eridanus as they pursue Taurus the bull. And that really ties that area of the sky up in your mind in the story, and it really helps me, at least, to remember that. So as you build out from a known constellation, one that you can identify now, many people start off, they know at least where the Big Dipper is. The Big Dipper is part of Ursa Major, the Big Bear. And so you kind of work your way out from there. Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Has anybody got a chance to see the comet, Catalina? I did hear some discussion on the way in. Alex, where are you at? You had said you got a chance to look at it?
I saw some images that were very fuzzy. I don't know if there was, I'm not sure if it was the comet or not, but I really didn't see a tail.
Okay.
That was anything clear.
So it is a binocular object at the minimum, right? So don't go out hunting for the comet without a pair of binoculars or something, because you will not find it, as Rob said. But it does not require a telescope. You could use, I think, just a decent pair of binoculars if you've got those available to you. And probably that's the easiest way, rather than, even if you have a telescope, to drag all that out there at, 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. Probably nicer to just pick up a pair of binoculars, right?
I was wondering if anybody got to see the meteor shower. I was all revved up and ready to go. 3:30 in the morning, I usually get up for a drink water, a bathroom break, whatever. And I had a total cloud cover. So, did anybody get to?
I will say that I was driving, I forget if it was this morning or yesterday morning, I was driving into work and I just happened to see one fly through the sky right over the road. I just probably shouldn't be looking up, but I was. It's just me and the 18-wheelers, so they win. All right. So as I said, I'm going to be working through this document if you want to follow along. It's under the shared file under meetings. And this is up for pretty much ever. So if you at any time want to go reference these, we will leave those up there, and there's past stuff in there as well. And in addition to that, we are recording this, so if there's something that I say that you want to you say, okay, well, what was that? This is up on YouTube, and there's a link to that as well. So I want to start us off with this first thing. It is a video. It's very short. I try to keep these videos short. But I want to highlight the fact that we have been exploring Mars now for 50 years. It's hard to believe.
Wow.